The Rotary Club of Greater Nashua is celebrating its centennial this year. Once a month, the club is celebrating highlights from each decade. These are the highlights from 1981 to 1990.
Is 1981 to 1991, folks, and a big thank you to our committee members. Everyone works so hard on this, and it's so appreciated.
Hi. So here are just a few highlights. We have Bertrand Summer, the club president, as you can see, in 81 to 82, giving three scholarships, $750 each to some local students. A $4,000 donation to the Nashua Children's Home, and at that point was the largest single organizational gift to date. We've definitely come a long way from those numbers. And a donation being presented to club member Paul Gov of the Nashua Salvation Army for cost incurred when they moved into their new building. And here are some highlights of Jack Law's presidency. Down on the bottom left here, you can see him shaking hands with the St. Joseph's blood drop mascot when he came to a meeting to remind people to give blood, always a good thing. And here's a little write-up of seed money for the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Greater Nashua, the first installment of a $10,000 total donation. Here, John Sias being presented the first of 2 checks. And the Christmas trees were a big help in that seed money being raised.
Okay, and here President Jack Law presents a check that was a 20% increase over last year's donations to United Way. Always a great thing. So that was wonderful. And then there's some Telegraph articles here about when Rotary decided to conduct a fruit sale back in the 80s, and a travel movie series that Nashua Rotary Club began. So because these presentations are emailed to all of you after the meeting, we'll invite you to go back and read, the Telegraph articles that we presented. We just don't want to take all the time reading the articles, but we really try to get as many highlights as we can from those particular years. Those were very interesting efforts, I thought, for fundraising. President Edward Clough from 1983 to 1984. He accepts the gavel from past President Jack Law, or they call him retiring president. Also pictured new officers were Richard Berman, Vice President, Frank Curtis, Secretary, Edward Skip Bryant, Skippy, and Treasurer Gary Gilbert, President-elect, and Jack Law receives the Paul Harris Fellow Award. So that's a great picture.
Here's some highlights from Gary Gilbert's presidency from 84 to 85. Here's a picture of him receiving the gavel from retiring President Edward Clough. Also down on the left here, club member Frank Curtis receiving a Paul Harris Medal from the past president, and Jack Law also. Bottom right, some local community charities receiving donations from the Nashua Rotary Club. The upper right here is the fruit sales begin. Picture of Richard Berman, the program chairman, and Roger Rist display the advertising for the fruit drive. And also Rotary International, the Polio Plus program is launched with the aim of certifying polio eradication by 2005. Next slide. Richard Berman's presidency, there's an article here of Rotary gives over $14,000 in community grants that lists some of the local charities. YMCA, the Nashua Senior Center, a lot we still support to this day. And there was a big full page ad in the Telegraph here. A Rotary member had paid for privately, and it was just a list of what the club had raised over the last 5 years, $110,000. List some of the local charities that helped, over 20, up to $1,000 each. Really impressive efforts here.
President Morris L. Arell, or Mo Arell as a lot of people call him, from 1986 to 1987, shows some political figures visiting our club. Senator at the time, Joseph Biden, speaks to the Nashua Rotary Club. I keep getting those slides, Paige. I don't know how that works. William Reinhart shakes hands with Alexander Haig during a club luncheon. And it looks like Senate Minority Leader Robert Dole was going to be the guest at the Rotary Club. And I'm sure there's many of you who remember all of this. It's very exciting. You see Judd Gregg. Congress will go into a period of political chaos. He was of course, there's no supporting information with that. Talk about a soundbite. But he was a congressman, a representative for New Hampshire. So that was pretty cool in the 80s. And President Tyler Stevens from 1987 to 1988. It seems that that was the year that the club was requesting proposals for the design and construction of the Performing Arts Shell located at Gurley Park. And architects participating must be registered in the state of New Hampshire. This was a sample that was found in the archives that Paige was able to get a picture of and put on there. So it's kind of interesting to read about it. I guess all proposals and presentations and everything had to be submitted by the end of day, February 2nd, 1988. And the rest is history. But that is very historic to see that little drawing there. So I thought that was pretty cool.
So here's some highlights from SHAG's presidency in 1988 to 89. Carl Quimby here, he reported that the Polio Plus campaign, the club pledged $56,000 towards that. The club itself, outside of gifts and pledges from 83 members for $28,000. Really big help. And Jim Donch is here speaking at our club while campaigning. Nice picture of him. So there's a little article written up from the Telegraph. And also big highlight, a Rotary meeting being held at the hospital. And I think Adrian can speak a little more details about that.
Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you,
Okay.
Adrian.
All right. Well, my dad had the highest perfect attendance record in the district at the time. It was somewhere around 50 years. And, you know, he got a heart attack. And of course, he ended up in the hospital. And the first thing that he worried about was to make perfect attendance. He didn't want to lose out on it. So SHAG came across and said, well, you know what, we'll have a meeting. So I guess about 10 of us got over there to the club and we had an official Rotary meeting right at his bedside. Now this happened again later, a second time, and it also happened with Dr. Thibodeau, who also had perfect attendance. And he wanted to make sure he didn't lose it by being in a hospital. So that's the story.
Thank you, Adrian.
Okay.
Great story. Okay, Mike, we're ready.
So here's a slide from J. Conrad Coffey's presidency. There's a little clip here. A speaker will bring humor. He is a, I think he's a political comedy writer. So he spoke at the Nashua Rotary Club. Up top here is a picture of club member Dave Wells stacking Christmas trees. And a little ad from the Telegraph. All the different companies that support the Christmas tree project. And as of June, there were over 20,000 female Rotarians worldwide.
What a good intro that was, Paige. President Thomas Tessier, 1990 to 1991. Tom Tessier presented a final report on the Christmas tree project. The net profit for that year was $19,304.12. And there he is, Tom Tessier and Jim Conway sell Christmas trees on Amherst Street. So that's the old Somerset days. I even remember those. So maybe they're not that old. That's a great picture. Okay, you can go to the next one. Okay, where are we? Exchange Rotary clubs to stage a kicking duel. I don't know much about this, but maybe after the presentation, someone can talk about it. It just talks about how they were doing sort of like, you know, rivalries between clubs. U.S. Senator Warren Rudman attending and speaking at a club meeting. And Rotary establishes endowment for world understanding and peace.
Here also is some more slides from that year. The New Hampshire Superior Court Justice Linda Delanis came to speak at the club. Governor Hopeful John Sununu visits the club, and here 3 Nashua High students will attend the 32nd annual Model General Assembly of the United Nations, thanks to a donation made by the club. And here, the past member Samuel Tamposi, part owner of the Boston Red Sox, secured Lou Gorman to address the club. He mentioned here a little article blurb from the Telegraph saying he think it would be great if the team's Eastern League franchise moved to Holman Stadium. That would have been exciting.
And again, the rest is history. Okay, presidential candidates visit the National Rotary Club in the 80s. So each decade, you'll see the number of presidential candidates that actually visit Rotary, not just, you know, other offices. Democratic presidential candidate, Illinois Senator Paul Simon, famous for his bow ties, speaks to our club. Possible presidential candidate, TV evangelist Pat Robertson also spoke to our club about his platform on the economy and terrorism. At the time, Vice President George Bush was the speaker. He was running for president and praised New Hampshire for what it has accomplished and would like to copy that in Washington. Okay, you can go to the next one, Mike. Thanks. Band shell planning starts. So we teased you with it earlier in the slideshow. We told you that that was happening. All the proposals and drafts and whatnot were due at the end of February the beginning of February 1988. Rotary Eyes project of a large scale. And here's an article from the Telegraph from Dan Landergan. Nashua may get $165,000 band shell in Grilly Park. Next slide, please, Mike.
Yeah, here there's a picture of Dr. Adrian Levake. He's examining a model of the band shell to be built at Grilly Park. It's going to be named after him. Here's a little blurb about.
Can I just add that it's Dr. Levake Senior, and I think I had that on J Coffee earlier. It was Senior. So.
The 150 members of the Nashua Rotary Club agreed that the club would contribute half of the funds. And the city would pay for the other half. The club raised money through many of the club's fundraisers, particularly the annual Christmas tree sale. And here's in the middle here is I believe the first official band shell event. It was Summerfest 90, and here you see Dr. Adrian Levake Sr. Here with the mayor, Jim Donchis, and Adrian Levake Jr., Dr. Adrian Levake Jr. At the dedication. And there's a great little article here about about the actual stone, and it was broken in transit. So it was a cute little article about they wanted to make sure it was done right, and took a little while to get it going, but.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we get into the spirit of the season. And we're going to talk a little bit about a famous opera, Phantom of the Opera, a famous musical and a famous movie and a famous character in fiction. So I'm going to let Lynn Marino talk to you about Phantom of the Opera.
So this is your intermission for this program. Our musical offering today is a piece that is probably familiar to most of you. It's a piece that's usually attributed to Johann Sebastian Bach, the Toccata and Fugue in D minor. So this is not really about the Phantom of the Opera. It's about this spooky piece of music. It's been used in lots of creepy music, creepy movies for years and years. And you can see some of them listed on the slide. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in 1913, Walt Disney's Fantasia, my favorite, 1940. Captain Nemo played it in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and the Nautilus in 1954. Of course, it was featured in Phantom of the Opera with the Phantom playing it in, the underground. And then those others, Rollerball, which I have to admit I've never seen, but I've definitely seen Monty Python's Meaning of Life. So it's really the perfect piece of Halloween music. It's got really strange chords. Everybody knows it. It's usually on Halloween playlists. I don't know if it was on yours, Libby, but it's really a cool piece, I think, for Halloween, and that was our choice. So happy Halloween, everybody, and enjoy Mindy's playing.
All right, everyone, I'm ready to go. I've been working on this one for you.
Wow, Mindy, unbelievable, amazing. Bravo, bravo, nice job.
My
Wow.
pleasure.
I have chills. It's Halloween. Love Halloween. Oh gosh. So Paige, where were we? I guess I'm the next slide, right? Okay. Oh, good. I like this slide. Foreshadowing women joining the Nashua Rotary Club circa 1986. There was an article in the Telegraph. It said, "Women welcome, sort of, ... And it's a really, we don't have the full article here. I apologize, but it's very interesting when it talks about how they were starting in 1986 to really have some laws and some governance around welcoming women to Rotary International. So Paige, take it away on the next slide, and then I know we're gonna have President Bill say a few words too. Go ahead, Mike. Thanks.
Here's just a little timeline when they went up to vote for women to be included in Rotary, and Rotary in other countries weren't quite as, they were more traditional than the Rotary clubs in the United States, so it got vetoed a few times. But here is a little timeline kind of to how it started going through the courts out in California. And President Bill, if he would like to.
Well, part of the history is I was inducted into Rotary in December of 1986, around the time our club, and many Rotary clubs were trying to decide whether to bring in women. The way our club handled it was they did not induct any new member from December of 1986 to March of 1988. I think I was on the freshman 5 for about 5 years at that time. And part of the reason was chauvinistic reasons. I think Dr. Levesque told a story once that some of the wives of the older members were worried about fraternizing with single women sitting at our tables on a monthly basis. We lost about 10 to 15% of our club when we inducted our first member. And as you can see by the picture, what a tremendous induction it was. Deborah Nash was the first woman Rotarian in our Nashua Rotary Club. She's been tremendous. So Deb, would you like to say a couple words if you of that time?
Sure. Boy, I wish I looked that good. That's a good picture. You know, it's funny. I didn't realize that you lost 10 to 15 members of the club. I never realized that. When my dad had asked me the winter of 87, 88, if I was interested in joining, I said, yeah, I would. I knew enough about Rotary through him. And that I also, in the early 80s, had gone out with a gentleman who was a member of the Merrimack Club. And they were very active. It was a small club, but they were very active. And the women were Rotary Anns. And they were always at meetings. I went to a couple of district conventions. You know, they had a lot of social events. So I got really familiar with Rotary in the early 80s. When I finally ended up joining our club at that time was 160 members, a big club. And I remember going into a little small room at the country club, and Frank Curtis was in there with some other gentlemen. And of course, you know, they're telling me everything that I need to do and, you know, what I should act, how I should act, yada, yada. And I said to myself, you know, it's not gonna be that hard for me because I know a lot of the gentlemen in the club as it is. And I knew that those gentlemen would be fine with me. And I just said, well, you know, if they don't like me, they don't like me. So I joined, and I never felt like I was out of place. I was welcomed. They got me involved right away. I think I was a year before another woman came in, and it was Ellie Fellows and Pat Francis. So the three of us were Rotarians for maybe another year before other women started coming in. And then the ball just started rolling, going, you know, getting more and more women. And I'm not sure how many we have in there today, but we've got to be at least 1/3 women. So, and I've enjoyed it. I just love the club. I love doing things with the club and with all the people. I can't imagine my life without Rotary. So thank you for letting me join.
Thank you.
So we can go to the next slide there, past President Mike, please. And we're going to let Adrian Levesque talk about this slide right here. Dr. Levesque.
Yes, hi. you probably notice that everyone is wearing a tie, except way on the right-hand side, okay, there's Ernie Jetty. He's not wearing a tie. And maybe he started the habit of not doing that. But anyway, if you look at the picture, it was taken sometime in the summer of '81. My dad on the lower left-hand side is wearing his white suit, and he's got a handkerchief out there so he doesn't get grass stains on his white pants. But he always wore that to Rotary in the summertime. So that's how I dated the picture. Also, Ernie Jetty was not in the picture book for the 60th anniversary. So it has to be sometime after the celebration that we had. There are a lot of people in this picture. From what you can see here on the screen, it's very hard to tell who they are. But Frank, if you look at the Rotary flag, Frank Curtis is the one sitting down right there. There are quite a few people. I have the large photograph in front of me. I'm trying to show who they are, but you know, way over to the left, you've got Dick Connor, and next to him is Jim Hebert. He was Paul Hebert's dad. You can see right in the center, the person with the black suit. All right. Let me see. That was Norman Fasulo. And on the bottom right, way over to the right, is Alvin Marshall. Next to him is Dick Berman in the back there, next to him. And myself, and then of course, Ernie Jetty. You've got Royal Dion to his right. You have Dave Hamblett. I could go through all of these lists, but I tried putting them together, and I do have the picture book to go with that does show it, but there is a picture of our Rotary Club in summer of 1981.
And we'll leave you this month and looking at the in memoriam. Thank you, Mike, for running this. Thank you, everyone.